Hello, all. This is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a three. And in this particular video, I want to talk to you about whether you should actually take maternity leave or paternity leave during a PhD or when you're in academia. So if you don't know me, I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out to get through graduate school that I decided to pay the favor forward and help you out as much as I possibly can. All right. So first of all, if you're watching this video, congratulations. This is a really cool and fun time in your life. It is very stressful, and you are probably greatly overstressed with a lot of the different decisions that you have to make. It's the first time that somebody's actually depending on you or going to depend on you. And there's a lot to be said. There's lots of responsibility there. So I actually have two kiddos. I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. And this is decisions, real life decisions that we had to go through and think about when I was doing my PhD. I was in my fourth year, I believe, when we had our first kiddo. And then in my final year, it was year 6.5, I guess. And when we had our second kiddo, and it was really stressful. I ultimately did take a bit of a paternity leave for the second child. My wife took maternity leave for both of them, but we had to sort of decide on how long it's going to be for both, and how much time we're actually going to spend at home. It's really stressful, and it does take a toll on you in terms of making all these decisions. So there is a lot of things for you to think about. So first of all, if there is the option to get pay during maternity or paternity leave, so if you didn't know, maternity leave is for women, paternity leave is for men, and it varies across the world in terms of whether it's offered at in sort of different stages or whether you're working and all that kind of stuff. I know in America. So I'm in America right now. It's a little bit shorter than a lot of different places around the world. It was really cool in Canada. They switched in the last one. That's where I did my PhD. So they switched in the last, I think it was the last 15, 20 years. They switched it to a year-long maternity or paternity leave, and you can choose which one you can do, and how much you can allocate between them and all that kind of stuff. So it was really cool and really fun to have that experience. But it just depends on where you are and what you sort of decide and what you want to do with the maternity and paternity leave. If you're getting paid, you should definitely sort of think about it, at least think about it. There's something that you also can think about. So first of all, if there is that option, you should probably take it and extend your time. And there's a lot of benefits to that. First of all, you could stay at home, and you might need to stay at home. But second of all, you can choose to do stuff during that time that you can't normally do without the sort of pressure that you might get. So I chose ultimately I did work from home a lot of days during the paternity leave, but I tried to do family life and stuff like that as well. But, I did choose to work. I didn't choose to put it up completely. I know that there's lots of people that actually choose to just put it up completely, your work, and just focus on doing the whole parenting thing. And sometimes you have to do that. And it's kind of a juggle, right? And you could sort of prioritize what you're trying to do. And what you do, if you do work during your maternity or paternity leave, it sort of extends the amount of time that you have to work, but then you could sort of balance and, do the, home life thing as well. And it's ultimately your choice what you choose to do with that kind of stuff, right? Whether you should strictly focus on parenting or focus on doing a little bit of work and stuff like that. And, there's a couple of things that you should sort of think about when you're making this decision that I think are really, really important in terms of whether you choose to, pursue the maternity leave and the paternity leave, and choose to figure out what you're going to do during that time, right? So some people do home renos, and or that they do, I don't know, painting the house and just things around the house, or all sorts of different things, and it's a personal choice. And as academics, we have this sort of pull towards doing more work and writing and publishing and all that kind of stuff. And it's very difficult to make that decision. So this is what I would want you to think about. There's three things I want you to think about that are really important. So the first one is, how much income do you actually have, and how much do you actually have coming in? That's going to be a biggest sort of predictor of what you should do going forward. If you are not getting paid for maternity or paternity leave, get the PhD done as fast as you possibly can, and get out and get done and get out and get a job. So that means that you're going to be juggling as hard as you can in terms of parenting and working to get out and get that stuff done. And that's kind of the reason why I chose to work as much as I possibly can. I did do sort of maternity leave, but I worked because I was trying to get out and get a real job, so that that we weren't continuously going more and more into debt. That was a really big thing. That was very, very stressful in our life, and it's stressful in everybody's life at that moment. But at the same time, if you don't have that financial wherewithal, then you should probably try to balance it as much as you possibly can and work through as much as you can, so you can get out and get a job and finish up that degree or your writing that you're doing. If you have a little bit of income that's coming in and it allows you to take a little bit more time, or that you have some money saved. So first of all, if you're going through, this is at the beginning of your whole baby journey and you haven't, that you've still got 9 more months or 10 more months, I guess, left, that you should probably save as much money as you possibly can for when that time comes. It's going to be challenging, and you're going to want to have that little bit of income there, and just to balance all that kind of stuff. So if you don't have any sort of money available, or if there's nothing coming in, depending on what country that you're coming in, that you're coming from, then it's probably in your best interest to work through as much as you can. And know that's not going to be, for some people, they're not going to want to hear that, but that was the decision that I ultimately had to do. And I look back and I think it was the right decision, but it was also really sort of stressful to do that. And it was stressful on the family. The whole dynamic was, it could be very, very tense at that moment. The second thing that is important to think about is this. Are you physically able to work? And some people aren't, right? There's lots of stuff that happens going through the whole pregnancy thing. And sometimes you're not physically able to work. And that even goes to the point of, are you getting enough sleep that you can actually have a functional thought? And, I lived off a ton of coffee. We both of us lived off a ton of coffee when the kiddos were small. And we laugh, and now we drink the coffee that we're drinking. We're like, this is really strong. And it was because during that time, we had to make it extra strong just to get through. 2 working parents, and, both of us were kind of working through things, and, in having professional lives, and then us while getting through and having kids and stuff it was challenging to get through. And then so thinking about, are you physically able to? If you're not physically able to, don't stress yourself out. And I know that there's kind of ambiguity in terms of when you sort of decide when you're physically able to, but you'll know when you're physically able to actually work. You'll get that feeling. And for the rest of it, just don't stress yourself out during it. The third thing is, think about the obligations that you actually have during your PhD journey and the stuff that you're actually doing. So you do have some obligations. And I'm not talking about like obligations to your advisors and obligations to get some papers written. That stuff, that doesn't matter, right? Your obligations are to your family and making sure that they are doing well, right? So your spouse is doing well, that if you have other kids, your other kids are doing well. And that's about it, right? You don't have to worry about other things. And sometimes, you might have parents or grandparents that might be giving you suggestions and stuff like that in terms of what obligations you have. And that doesn't matter. At the end, ultimately, you have to look out for yourself in terms of the obligations that you actually have during that journey. And I know that some people are not going to like that kind of thought and that view, but ultimately you have to be a little bit selfish at that time. And and above and beyond those questions, sort of to think about yourself and making this decision whether you should take a maternity or paternity leave in terms of your obligations. Ultimately, I think this is why it's so stressful for a lot of people, because this is the first time in your life that you actually have to make your own decision, and you actually have to make your own firm choice and stand by what you actually believe and how you want to experience this thing called life in going forward. You are forced to actually make a real decision that you probably haven't made before. And we didn't have to make that decision before in terms of what we are going to do and stand with those particular life choices that you make. It's not clear in terms of what you're supposed to do. And there's lots of obligations, lots of people telling you one thing that you should be doing. And I'm going to point it out there. There's lots of pressure that lots of other people around you are going to say, well, you should be doing this. And so from the academic standpoint, they're going to say, well, you should be working, right? You should be actually doing this stuff and all that kind of stuff. And then from the rest of society, they're going to be saying, well, you should be taking the time off and you should be doing this. Well, this is the moment in your life where you actually have to stand up and say, you know what? I don't give a, I just don't care in terms of what everybody else says. And I'm going to do the thing that I'm going to do, and it's going to be right for us. And that's what the thought process you ultimately have to do in terms of making this decision of whether you should take a maternity leave and paternity leave, and what flavor or what it actually looks like for you. It's really your life decision. And you know what? You just have to make that decision and then just let the chips fall where they may, and just realize, and I appreciate something that my mom has told me recently. You just have to have faith in life that things are going to work out, and you know that it's going to work out. And ultimately, that's what's going to happen when you make that choice. Things will work out, and they'll either go, not in the way that you intended them, but life will happen. It will still keep going on, and you will experience life. It's not like it's going to disappear ultimately, or things are going to be completely ruined. You're just going to have to deal with the choice that you made. And there's no right choice in terms of what you do, in terms of taking a maternity leave or paternity leave, and the kind of flavors of what that actually looks like, or whether you actually work or, do chores around the house or spend all your time cuddling with the baby and all that kind of stuff. It's really your life and what you want to do. All right. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. And congratulations once again. It's absolutely an amazing moment of your life. You should celebrate it. Have a lot of fun. Don't try to take this as the moment where your life is going to fall apart. Or don't try to take it as a moment where things are just going to be so drastically different. Just know you're going to experience life. It's going to be lots of fun. You're going to have a lot of journeys. It's a roller coaster. Trust me, it's an absolute roller coaster, and you're going to enjoy it. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.